What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Given that he was someone who often slept during meetings, it wasn't like I didn't have any reservations, either. That said, I also knew very well of the fact that Gobta had been secretly undergoing special training, and that he was trying his best because he wanted to protect this country.
Right? He's a man that pulls through when it counts,
I said. Although, when it doesn't, he does absolutely nothing. But, well, Gobta's men trusted him a lot, and he was also quite good at looking out for them. I had faith in Gobta.
He's one of the 4 heavenly kings, so he will never betray your expectations,
Xian declared.
That's right. And we will send Testarossa as an inspector so she can make up for any shortcomings, just in case.
Diablo added. The two of them both supported Gobta as their co-member in the 4 heavenly kings.
When you put it that way, even I can't say no as the head of the 4 heavenly kings.
Benimaru added with a bitter smile. He must have acknowledged Gobta.
Diablo is certainly correct.
He then added.
If anything happens, we can support him. Let's give him the job.
it'll be okay. He may not look it, but his heart is in the right place.
Thus, Benimaru and I decided to make Gobta a general. I took a closer look at the organizational structure in order to review the other corps leaders beside Gobta. There was a total of 3 new corps to be established under Benimaru's direct command. The aforementioned first corps, with Gobta assigned as commander and Hakuro as the military advisor, would have the following soldiers: 100 goblin riders. Each member had grown to the level of rank A- and possessed the competence to be a centurion. 12,000 green numbers. The 4,000 initial men became senior soldiers and would take command of the 8,000 newly hired junior soldiers. They would work in teams of 3. The number of troops had increased significantly over the past year, but most of them were monsters from the Great Jura Forest. As a result, they were able to operate without any major problems. Although the junior soldiers were only rank C to D, the senior soldiers had grown to the equivalent of rank B. It seemed like we could expect them to be a considerable force. Following that was the second corps. Geld became the commander for this one. This second corps, however, was currently active in various places as a construction unit. In wartime, it would be recalled and become Tempest's main force. The soldiers under Geld's command were 2,000 yellow numbers. They were high orc warriors who followed Geld from the start. Their individual strength was considerably high at rank B+, allowing them to create an iron wall defense by uniting with Geld. Furthermore, they also took the role of platoon leaders that commanded the new troops. 35,000 orange numbers, the newer high orcs that had joined as enlisted soldiers. They were a unit around C rank in strength, but only 15,000 veterans would be involved in combat. The remaining 20,000 would serve as logistical support or military engineers. And lastly, we had the third corps. The aerial cavalry unit was finally being put into action as a secret weapon. The commander of this particular corps was Gabble, its original founder. The soldiers under his command were 100 Hiryu. They were the most powerful unit within Tempest. Each individual bore the strength of rank A-, was capable of flying, and had a high command ability. Some were able to reach rank A and had the skill, Dragon Body, that could be used as their trump card. 3,000 blue numbers. These were lizardmen warriors who volunteered to participate because they wanted to be Gabble's subordinates. The unit was established with them as its members, and their combat prowess was equivalent to rank C+. But they weren't just ordinary foot soldiers. Their distinguishing feature was that they fought while riding wyverns. Their unit had the best striking power, coupled with air superiority. Be that as it may, the current number of wyverns we had at our disposal was only 300, so we couldn't assign one to everybody. Most were relegated to raising and supporting wyverns, and it looked like it would be a while before they could participate in combat. Even then, you shouldn't underestimate them. Wyverns were a subspecies of lesser dragons, a B+ ranked monster. While Gabble had succeeded in capturing and nurturing them, their goal for now was to increase the population. If they could assign a wyvern to everyone, then the blue numbers could display their true value. These were the 3 corps under Benimaru's direct control.
So, the second corps is under Geld and the third corps is under Gabble. Looks like there aren't any problems,
I said.
Well, I've considered a lot of various options, but I think this is the safest bet.
Benimaru assured me. Geld was, needless to say, a reliable general. I also didn't see any issues with Gabble either. He definitely tended to get easily carried away, but even then, he was good in a fight. His performance in mock battles was excellent, and he was at the point where Benimaru recognized him as a rival. His strategic thinking was a bit on the weaker side, but his tactical decisions more than made up for that shortcoming. He treated his subordinates well and knew when to retreat. He was, without a doubt, a talented person that could be trusted as a general.
As for these, they're the same as before.
Benimaru brought out a different piece of paper. 3 units were listed there. Benimaru's personal bodyguards, Kurenai, was composed of 300 men. Led by rank A Gobua, it was an elite unit full of fierce fighters, all ranked A- and above. They also currently served as the general staff. It was only after I saw them in combat training, but I thought that Gobua and the others were evenly matched with someone like Gelmid, who had once been a high-level Majin, if not stronger. If we took proficiency into consideration, there were some members of the squad that were equal to rank A. Some of them could even defeat a Holy Knight one-on-one, so calculating the overall strength of this unit was complicated. The criteria for a monster's strength were almost always decided by the amount of magicules. Since monsters were born strong, they had no concept of proficiency. However, in addition to their innate physical power, our country's monsters had undergone military training. It seemed that this training helped them acquire even more combat strength. I didn't think I was overestimating them, even if you considered them out of place or above the normal criteria. In the first place, if we just looked at the anomaly Hakuro, it was enough to prove that I was right. The people of this unit were fierce soldiers who had all endured Hikaru's hellish training. They were extraordinarily well trained. Second on that list was the intelligence unit, Dark Shadow, that Soe ran. It consisted of at least 100 men. There were many mysteries surrounding this group, and as they were under Soe's complete control, few knew of its existence. But as far as I know, they were considerably strong. Soka and her 4 subordinates, who were the commanding officers, were ranked A. Several of them were even more dangerous. Glenda was part of this corps, but there were a couple of special A-rank fighters as well. In fact, Testarossa managed to recruit a few talented individuals via plea bargains, and they were taken in by Soe. They were Gerard, the leader of the mercenary group Apostles of Vert, and Ein, a spirit wielder who had apparently served under him. Both of them were over A rank and were now active as excellent intelligence agents. I had once joked that it was like a special agency for troublemakers, but now it was looking exactly like that. Soe claimed that we couldn't expect much combat ability from this team, but I didn't believe it. I felt that they would be perfect at assassinations. I mean, the group possessed numerous people that were over rank A, so I wanted to ask him what nonsense he was talking about. I wondered what Soe wished to achieve. Rumors that they were a frightening unit was, in a way, unavoidable. Finally, there was the Yomigari, who were under Shion. They totaled 100 men. The quirk of this group was that they weren't easy to kill, stubbornly so. They reportedly received incredibly severe training that utilized their terrifying regeneration abilities and became as strong as rank B+. Considering the fact that they were originally ranked C, their growth was the highest. They performed well in the battle against the Holy Knight Order, and some of them might even break through their ceiling and reach rank A. While I thought the strongest unit right now was Hiryu, if there was a team that could turn it around and claim that title, it was definitely Shion's Yomigari. And this unit, according to Benimaru's organization chart, was supposed to be my bodyguards. I didn't like it, but the idea of abusing their near immortality, stalling for time by acting as bait, was the main reason why they were delegated this role. Essentially, if anything ever happened, I could use the Yomigari as a decoy and escape. Shion explained it rather proudly. In case you were wondering, even though they were technically my bodyguards, they didn't need to follow any of my commands. They were a group that solely existed to protect me, so they were strictly forbidden from doing other things, regardless of my orders. Therefore, even if I shouted at them not to, they'd gladly sacrifice themselves for me. It was extremely troubling. Although, if I asked them to do some trivial tasks, they would readily accept. It was probably a good idea to not tell Shion any of this. At times like these, it was best to put up a facade in order to hide how I truly felt. By the way, Shion had one more undisclosed unit that wasn't written on the list. Although officially it was a secret, it was more so an open secret nowadays. It was a self-proclaimed unit that followed Shion. They were supposed to be her bodyguards, but in reality, it was simply a fan club. The exact number of members was unknown. I didn't think that there were more than 1,000 people at most. Since it wasn't an official unit, they were outside the jurisdiction of our country. We don't know how many of them there are, nor their abilities. Is it really going to be okay? It would be nice as long as nobody died. Shion was secretly raising them, so their strength was also unknown. It seemed that de Gruwell's sons were working hard as captains, and some adventurers with combat experience had joined the group as well. There may come a time where they would be useful in the future, but for now, I was more anxious than I'd expected. They were definitely not a unit that we could send to the front line. It was only natural that Benimaru hadn't listed them on his organization chart. I handed the sheet back to Benimaru.
I don't have a problem with this. It looks like we've increased our forces, but as far as I'm concerned, there are no changes for these units. I think we can safely put this behind us.
I agree. I take pride in the fact that the Kurenai are troops that I've nurtured with my own hands. Zoe and Xian would certainly feel the same way, so I won't include their units into the organization chart.
Xian nodded in agreement after hearing what Benimaru said. I had no objections, so I gave my permission by saying, please do so. Everyone wanted the unit that they had trained themselves close at hand. In fact, there was no need to add Gabel's Hiryu to the new structure. It was just something he had suggested himself. On that note, Gobta wasn't the one who raised the Goblin Riders, but they were his colleagues as well as brothers in arms, and they had all acknowledged Gobta's abilities. So, even in the case where we had to change commanders, we decided to take their feelings into consideration. Benimaru brought out the third sheet of paper.
I guess this is today's main topic. These are the core that belong to people other than me, but I have condensed it all together here.
It was finally here. The table I've seen so far only contained current units and their subsequent increases and decreases. The only thing that caught my eye was Gobta's appointment as the commander of the first corps. This was something I'd suggested, so there wasn't anything new to surprise me. Well, I wonder what will be written here this time. With a pounding heart, I looked down at the piece of paper. There was a chart of the left and right wings of the army. The number of troops we possessed so far was listed on the right. The first corps, commanded by Gobta, had approximately 12,000 soldiers. The second corps, commanded by Geld, had approximately 37,000 soldiers. The third corps, commanded by Gabel, had approximately 3,000 soldiers. In total, there were around 52,000 men. This was the entire standing army of the Tempest Federation, and in my opinion, it was quite a scary number. Regardless, we still had plenty of room for more soldiers. The population of our nation had already surpassed 1 million and had been increasing at breakneck speed. Looking at it objectively, our national power had grown exponentially. It was precisely because of our nation's strength that we were able to support such a large army. On top of that, because the Second Corps acted as military engineers, we were able to maintain this manpower. If all of them were unproductive, then we wouldn't have been able to get this far. I really needed to thank Geld and his team. Without him and his subordinates, the remaining number of soldiers would approximately be only 15,000. This was definitely not enough for a confrontation with the Eastern Empire.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to AnimeKouhai sponsors: Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, Dia Silly, Walter O.B., John M., Speed Saber, John Charles, MTA, Minotaur, Chad Vota, Godman Gaming, and last but not the least, shoutout to Jared Bressler. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.